It's Shelley from Koala Knits and Knacks. Welcome to my channel. In this tutorial, we're going to make this cute little pajama bag bear. Isn't he just like adorable? I love him. You know, I have a pajama bag doll on my channel, so look for that one as well. And I'm going to add this one to the collection. But the other day in my Facebook group, we were having a little comment, a little chat. Someone said that they wanted to make a teddy bear one, and was there any suggestions on how to do it? So with my brain the way it is, I got to work and I thought, okay, I'm gonna add, now's the time to add to the collection. So here he is. You know, any child will love this. Toddler, young child, you know, even older child, to be honest, right? Will love this. It is so cozy. When there's nothing in it, it's just a nice cuddle toy. And when you want to go on it, when they want to go on a sleepover to grandma's house or to a friend's house, they just have to open the bottom. Now I don't have a kid's pair of pajamas here with me, so I grabbed an oversized t-shirt and we'll just stuff that in there. Any which way but loose, okay? Stuff that little t-shirt in there. Well, it's a big t-shirt, but hey, it works. Look at that. And they can put their toothbrush and their toothpaste, put a book in there, whatever they want, whatever their little chocolate bar, whatever their little hearts desire. And then you have a cozy little, more like a stuffed animal kind of thing. But then when they're at home, they can just put their pajamas in there, lay it on their pillow, and they have a nice pajama bag. There you go. So this is my teddy bear pajama bag. I hope that you enjoy it. I used my 46 and my 22 needle Addi. Also used my Addi Egg for this cord, but I give you several options at the end of the video if you don't have the Addi Egg. And you can choose one of them, so be sure and watch for that. I love this yarn in the color Orchid, and you can see most of the ball is still there. I hardly used any of this ball. And in this variegated color that matches, also in I love this yarn, Violet Wisp. Love this one, but this one's almost gone. So there's a little bit of that ball left. I also used just traces of Bernat Premium in these two colors here, but use your favorite yarn. You know, this would be a great color combination if you're making a gift for a young mom who's not yet aware of what the sex of their baby is, because these colors are unisex. You could put together make a little teddy bear like this and put a receiving blanket in there, a soother, and a couple of little things. This is a big cavity. Now I want to encourage you at the very beginning, make it the way I make it. Some will be tempted to take a shortcut and make a long beanie and fold it in half and do it that way. If you do it the way I'm going to show you, you are going to have a nicer straight line on your sides, and you will have a bigger cavity. It just works that way. You got to trust me. It just is a lot nicer to do it the way I'm going to show you. So watch. And friends, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Please don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and be sure to check down in the description box below, because I will put links to all my favorite things that I use here, like the needles and the egg and the Clover Wonder Knitter. And you can just click on those links and it'll direct you to there. Also, don't forget to subscribe if you're not a subscriber to my channel. I would appreciate it if you would do that, and come on over and join my Facebook group. Would love to have you a part of that neighborhood. We have a great neighborhood over there. We call it a neighborhood because we feel like neighbors. It's just a great place to be. So come on over and join me there. And friends, once you have your supplies, we're going to get right into making this beautiful little teddy bear pajama bag. Have fun. All right, friends, if you are ready to begin, so am I. We're going to take our head color. So for me, I'm going to choose this lilac color. It's called Orchid, actually. I love this yarn in the color Orchid. And what we need to do is we need to cut off a yarn end that goes across your barrel, just like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Cut that off, 6 and a little bit. Set it aside, because we're going to need that to cinch our head in just a moment. But then we're going to take that same yarn color. We're going to bring our last white and our first black needle and yarn line with our yarn guide. Now you can see that I take a black permanent marker and I mark that red divider that's between those two. So I always know that once it's lined up with this yarn feeder, that my needles are in place, okay? Taking your head color, we are going to cast on, doing the drawstring cast on. Let's go in front of that first black needle, just like that. Then behind the next, in front, and behind. This again is a drawstring cast on. We're just alternating behind and in front. And as you do this, you're going to just let that yarn naturally slip through your fingers. Do not put any extra tension on it, and that will help you with the next row, okay? There's no weight from our project yet that's pulling this down to help this yarn go over those two little red teeth. So making this a little bit looser will help in the next row, okay? Before I get to the end though, I'm going to set my row counter to 0. So it's all ready to begin once I get there, okay? It should go behind that last white needle. You're gonna open your yarn guide and you're gonna pop it into your feeder, close the latch. Make sure you got some slack coming out of your ball. If you're using a new ball like me, it's a little bit tight, okay? Then you're gonna go slowly on your first round. When it just clicked, that's my first round. I know I'm working on row 1. And you gotta go slowly at first to give that yarn a chance to drop down over those little red teeth as it passes this yarn guide, before the needle picks up the new yarn and takes it down. Okay? And there we go. I've made it around once. I always pull that down. Now the next should be good. If you take your time on your cast on and on that first row, you'll always have way more success than if you put some tension on it and you go quickly. Often people will say, how come my first row is snagging on those red teeth all the time, and they have trouble, and it's because you don't use the techniques that I just showed you. Really? Because if you do, and you go loosely and you go slowly, you find the speed that your machine and your yarn like together, you shouldn't have any problems, okay? If you're using yarn that your machine likes, there's lots of yarn that it doesn't like, and it doesn't matter what you do, you're gonna have issues. So always choose the yarn that we know works well in our machines, okay? And I'm gonna keep going just like this till I have 24 rows of this color. Yeah, we're working on the head. So friends, keep going until you have 24 rows, and when you have 24 rows done, I'll see you back. I'm just finishing up row 24. I can see that black divider coming around, so I know when to stop. And there we go. You're going to then take your scissors and cut off a tail. Open your latch. Make sure that you put this tail between the last white and the first black, because we still have to knit these two needles, okay, friends? Then you're going to grab that yarn piece that you cut off at the beginning. You're going to pop that into there, okay? Shut your latch. You're going to hold these two just to put a little bit of tension. This is our drawstring one that we're going to use, so we don't need to worry about fixing the tension here. But I'm going to just push this over here so that I know that this is the one, and I'll show you why in a second. So separate these two. Then we're going to do one round. Before we get to the end of this round, before this black divider comes around, reset your counter to 0. Okay, there we go. Now I am around. I'm going to take this one and I'm going to, well, that's all there is left. So I'm going to, because we only did 6, I'm going to open my latch. I'm going to pop that yarn tail between the last white, the first black. I'm going to take these two. I actually can cut this one off just a little bit. Take these two, and I'm going to just put a little slip knot in them. Just like this. And I'll tell you why I'm doing that. Not too tight, because you're going to unloosen it, because when I add my next color, I want to know which strand it is that I have to tie to, and it'll be this one. Okay, so now that we have our drawstring in there to cinch the neck, we can then add our new yarn, which for me is also, I love this yarn in the color Violet Wisp. Okay, I'm going to grab my end, open my latch, pop that into there. I'm going to hold these two just like that. We don't have to do a jogless join on this one. If you watch my videos, you know when I do a color change, I generally do a jogless join. But our last row was this cinch yarn, so there's no need to do that in this row. But we're going to just hold those two for tension's sake. We're going to knit 4 or 5 needles. Then I'm going to take my new yarn tail here. I'm going to help those down under the divider, whichever ones need it. Then I'm going to take both ends of that new yarn and I'm going to pull away from each other. And it snugged up my stitches in there, just so that when I have my project off my machine, I don't have loose stitches here and tighter stitches all the way around the other part, okay? Then we're going to take our 2 tails, okay, this one that we left and this new one, we're going to give it a tie. Okay, just pull that cinch yarn down. Tie this tight. And now those 2 rows are joined. I'm going to cut that off a little bit shorter, and that's taken care of, okay? Now we're going to begin knitting the body with our new color. There we go. And we're going to knit 55 rows of this color. Now this yarn is a dream in our machines. It just works so beautifully. So you should have no trouble. Again, I'm holding my, or I don't know if I've mentioned to you, but I'm holding my yarn between my fingers like that. The very bottom here is just a little space, so you have a very, very light tension. But you can feel if there's tightness coming out of your ball, or if there's a knot in your yarn, or if you're at the end of your yarn. And you always are in control that way. So that's why I like to hold it in my hand like that. But I'm going to keep going until my project starts to touch the table. See, I got a knot here. I would not have felt that if I would not have, if I would have had a drill on here, or if I would have been spinning without and had it in attention or not paying attention, just spinning, that would have caught. Okay, so that is the reason why I like to hold it in my hands. Okay, so I'm going to untie that knot. I'm going to keep going until my project starts to touch the table, and when it does, I'll see you back. There we go. I used my little loom pick, and that helps me easily undo a knot. That's a little tool that I use whenever I have a knot that works. So I thought I would just share that little tip with you. You just poke it right into the center of the knot, and it loosens it. Works wonderful. So keep going till your project touches the table, and then I'll show you what we do with it from that point. But we're going to do 55 rows in total. All right, so I've just clicked on row 36 and my project is starting to touch the table. If I continue to let it go, even though I don't have a whole lot of rows left, but if I continue to let it go, it will start bunching up like this. And if we let that happen, it puts a really loose tension on our underneath the needles here, and we need the tighter tension to pull these loops down over the red teeth. But also, and more importantly, what it does is if this was to pull up too much, one of these little loops could fall off these red teeth and then drop your row. So you want to make sure that when it gets to this point that you pick it up, even if you only have 12, 15, 20 rows left, and you want to roll it into a donut. That will keep your tension nice and even around the rim of your barrel here and help to pull those stitches down and keep them even, okay? Very easy to do. We're going to continue until we have 55 rows. Just finishing row 55, watching for that black divider to come. There we go. Okay, friends, what you're going to do now is you're going to cut off a tail. Put it between the last white, the first black. Make sure that's where you put it, because we still need to knit these two. Okay, you're going to grab your waste yarn, or some call it scrap yarn, depending what country you're from. But waste yarn is what we use to help us close our end in a flat seam. Instead of a cinched seam, we're going to do a flat seam, and we need to put waste yarn in there so that we can see our last row of stitches in order to pick them up and close them. So you're going to want to choose a yarn color that is easily seen against your working yarn. Okay, so pop that into your yarn guide. Make sure it's between the last white, the first black. We're going to then knit. You don't have to fix the tension because it's waste yarn and it's going to come out. You're going to knit as many rows as you're comfortable with, and for me, I always do 7. Now there are two ways to do this once we're finished knitting our 7 rows. We can cut off a long tail and do a drawstring cast off, and what that will do is help us to hold these stitches in place. If you know how to do the drawstring cast off, you know what I mean. It holds those stitches in place so your rows don't begin to unravel before you work them. And I do that in some of my projects, but for this particular one, I'm not going to. We're going to do it, we're just going to cast off, and I've lost count, but this is the last one that I'm going to do. We're going to cut that yarn tail. We're going to open our latch, pop it in between, shut the latch. Make sure you shut that, because if you leave it open when you rotate your barrel, you're going to clip the end of here, and you might break this or the needle or both, okay? Then we're going to rotate our barrel so that it does 2 complete turns, okay? The second turn, they'll start to let go. Now, because we didn't do a drawstring cast off on this particular, at the edge here, this can unravel very easily. All you got to do is pull this and it'll start unraveling and it'll unravel down into your work. So you just want to be very, very, very careful. We're going to work them right away. When I do a lot of panels for a blanket, if I'm not closing them up right away, then I'll close it off and I'll do the drawstring cast off and it will hold these stitches in place and I'm not going to risk losing them. But for this project, I'm going to just leave it like that. You're going to go ahead and you're going to make a second one exactly like this. So go ahead, friends, and make a duplicate one to this one. And when you're finished that, I'll see you back. Once we have our two beautiful pieces off the machine, we're going to take one, we're going to unroll it, and we're going to stretch it widthwise and lengthwise, just like that. Just puts all our rows in their rightful place, evens up that tension and just makes it beautiful, okay? But what I'm going to do first is you're going to take this drawstring one here that we tied a knot for, and you're going to find that little hole that's between them. Okay, so there's a little hole that's between. I'm going to pop that to the outside. We need this to be on the right side of our work, so you're going to do that first so we don't forget. Okay, then you're going to grab 2 stitch markers and we're going to find our first and our last needle, taking our waste yarn. When you look at your waste yarn, the loop that it's coming out of on your work right here, okay? This is the last loop that this is coming out of. That's the one I'm going to pop this stitch marker into. Just like that. And yes, if you follow my, if this is your first time following me, I use bobby pins as stitch markers. They're brilliant because you can get them in big packages for next to nothing, and they're easy to put in, easy to take out. It's my favorite thing. Now your working yarn is right here, okay? If you look at that very top loop there, that last loop, this is what's attached to your working yarn. I pull that and that's the last loop. That's where we're going to put our second stitch marker. We're going to make sure that our yarn tails are outside of our work, just like that. We're going to count around from this top stitch marker. We know that we have 46 stitches in here, so 23 and 24 are the very opposite side, okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and 24. Those two are my very side, okay? I'm going to take my crochet hook, which I'm using a 5mm. I'm going to pop it under stitch 24 that I counted, okay? Now I'm going to count that as 1. Then I'm going to go up to 23, pick it up, put it through that loop on my hook. Now I've worked 2 stitches. I'm going to go down to the very next loop, and you see why waste yarn is so important? You can see all these stitches here are what we're going to pick up. And we're going to go down here, pick up the next one, work it through the loop on the hook. That's 3, up to the top, 4, see how easy they are to see? 5, 6. If you are new and you haven't got experience closing like this, you want to make sure that you count every loop, because when you get to the end, this bottom one has to be 45 and this one 46 if you've got every stitch. If this is 43 and this is 44, or 44 and 45, you know you've missed a loop somewhere around there. And then once we take our waste yarn off, that row that you missed will drop, okay? So you want to count, go back and forth and count, picking up every stitch, working it through the loop that's on your hook, down to the bottom, up to the top, down to the bottom, up to the top. Doesn't matter if you pick it up from the top like this, hook it, or if you go underneath, doesn't matter. What matters is that you put it through the loop that's on your hook, okay? It'll look the same both ways. And you're gonna keep going all the way across, closing the bottom, just like this, until we get to the end. Okay, almost there. So I'm just gonna stick with you. Wish you could tell me a story. I talk to you like you're there because I know you are. I mean, you're not there in this very moment, but you're there when you watch the video. And you know what? I feel like I'm chatting with you, with all my friends, okay? So there we go. This one is 45. I can pull up on it. And you know, and particularly when you're using a 22 needle machine, and then I can just take it out so easily. When you're using a 22 needle machine, by the time you get to the end here, these last 2 stitches are really tight. So you can pull up on that stitch marker, get under that stitch, work it, and it makes it easier. And then I yarn over with my yarn tail, bring it through that last loop, which was 46, pull it down with my thumbnail. When you have a long tail like this, you want to take your needle. Aren't these pretty? They're metal wool needles. Thank you to Helen who sent them to me. Such a sweet lady. Okay, I'm going to take that middle one and I'm going to, I'll have a link to these down below in the description box underneath my video, okay? They are metal wool needles with these little loops. You can just thread them so very easily. Now what I do is I'm going to pop this into that seam and out my work, making sure that I put my finger in there and leave a loop. You don't want to get it all the way through, just leave a little loop like that. The reason why I'm going to do that is because then when I take my yarn tail, the very last row here, and I pull my waste yarn, when I'm pulling it, it's not getting tangled around this long tail that's hanging there. And then we'll just pull it out when we're done. So we're going to pull this up just like this till you get it all out. There we go. Now we've got a beautifully closed end. I'm going to take that loop, I'm going to pull it back just like that. It's too, like, I didn't tell you to leave a really long tail because we need to use it to sew up the side, but I always add one. So I'm going to just put this back on my needle. I'm going to just weave it back and forth over some of these rows here, just like that. Oops. Which one? Which one? There we go. I'm going to pull that back because I don't want that to gather in any way, shape, or form. Then I'm going to go back just underneath, weaving in and out of those stitches. And then I'm going to pop that through the center seam, down in between the two layers and out. And I'm going to cut it off. Aren't these so pretty? They come in 3 different sizes, so you're going to absolutely love them. If you watch my videos, you also know that they're my favorite needle. Metal wool needles, okay? So I'm going to set this one aside. I'm going to do the exact same thing with this one. And then from there, I'll meet you back. All right, friends, so once we have those 2 pieces done, and I love that they're actually different colors. I think that that is so beautiful because one side of your bag is going to be different from the other side. And you know what? I'm going to put my cinch tails on the same side. So where's that other one? Here's the other one here. I'm going to just have them on the same side. And what we're going to do is we're going to start on the other side. We're going to take a piece of yarn, put it on our needle, one that is 1.5 times the length of this piece. And we're going to do the mattress stitch up, okay? So we're going to find the bottom here. We're going to find the row where the wide part of the V goes to the left. So if I pick this was the row that was natural here, okay? And the point of the V is going to the left. I'm just going to give it a half a row turn, so that the wide part of the V is going to the left. And I'm going to have the same thing on the other side. Putting those 2 together, I'm going to just smooth out that row a little ways up, just like that. See, right like that. Now I'm going to take my needle. I'm going to pick up this, go into this first stitch, pick up that first bar, then pick up the second, pull through, leaving a tail. I'm going to go over to this side. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to pick up that first bar and then the second, and I'm going to pull this through. Take that long tail and stuff it in the middle there so that it stays out of your way. Okay, so then I'm coming back to this side, and you'll see this is where it's coming out. I'm going to go into that same stitch where this is coming out. I'm going to pick up 1, 2. I'm going to go over to the other side. Here's where it's coming out. I'm going to go back into where it's coming out, pick up 1, 2. You're going into the center of the stitch and picking up 2 stitches. Oops. And then back down here, picking up 2. Making sure that you stop every once in a while and smooth these out so that you keep that row. Some people have a hard time keeping on that same row, and they mention it all the time. If you just focus on 8 or 10 stitches, smooth it out, then hold it, you should have no problem staying on there. And another way to know that you're on the same row is that you go into the same stitch that it's coming out of. So if I'm gonna go over here and get off kilter and say, oh, where was I? Then I'm not looking at this stitch. This is where I last came out of, so that's where I'm going to go into. That should help you stay on the same row, okay? And it's the same on the bottom. This is the stitch I'm coming out of, so I have to go back into there. So it's really quite, if I'm following that, then it's really quite impossible for me to go off. and to go on to another row. Okay, so here's where it's coming out. I'm going to go in, pick up 2. Here's where it's coming out. I'm going to go in and pick up 2. And I'm going to go up to about there, just a little bit farther, and then I'm going to tighten it. Okay, you can go quite a ways before you have to tighten. You could probably go this whole length, but I'm going to go maybe a quarter of the way. So pick up 2 more, pick up 2 more. This is the mattress stitch. Very, very easily done. Pick up 2 more. And 2 more. And down to this side. Back up. Back down. See how easy that is? Then if I take the end tail here, see this one here, and the end one here, and I pull them away from each other, that's gonna snug it up together, and it's gonna, oh, how come it's off? Oh, that's just because I have to take this tail and work that last stitch. Then you can't see that there's a seam there, and that's why we do the mattress stitch. It's absolutely beautiful. Okay, so now I'm gonna rotate this so that I have that same row that I was working on, and this one here. Hopefully this color isn't too light for you to see. Here's where it's coming out. If I look, because I pulled it, this one's hard to see, but you look for it. Look for that strand that goes across here, and then go into that same stitch, pick up 2. Go into this stitch, pick up 2. And I'm going to continue up that row till I get a nice long stretch done, and then I'm going to pull on it again. So where am I coming out? Here, right here, okay? Might be hard for you to see, but I can see it. So you look for where that bar is coming out, and that's where you got to go in. Pick up 2. Okay, I'm gonna line up my rows again, just like that. And I'm gonna go all the way up to, well, I'm not gonna go all the way up to the top. I'm gonna do a big section here, and then I'm gonna pull it, and then we'll continue on. But you see what I'm doing here? You can go quite a ways before you have to pull it, and I'm sticking with you because those of you who are new need to see this over and over again. And you can go up to the gear up at the top of, I think it's in the right hand corner of this video, top right hand corner, and you can slow the speed down, and then you can see it in a slower motion. Might help you out too if you're new. Okay, and I'll do one more, and then I will pull it again. So because this piece isn't very big, you can either pinch where you left off and then just pull this one, or you can just take the bottom one again and just pull. And there we go. And I'm going to continue all the way up, and when I get up to about here, I'll come back and see you, okay? All right, so we are getting up to the top. Now, some of you might be saying, Shelley, why didn't you do a very long tube like we do the beanie and fold it inside of each other rather than stitching 2 pieces together? And that's a very good question, but I'm going to give you my answer. The answer is because when you do it, if you did it that way, the inside cavity of this piece will be a lot smaller. Let me just stray from that thought. See, I'm coming up to the top here, and you can see I have one left on both sides. I'm going to go ahead and just pick up that one there, and I'm going to pick up the one here. Then I'm going to take this and I'm going to just pull it just like that. And when you pull on both ends like this, you don't want to hold this and then pull this so tight that you gather it like that, okay? Make sure that your yarn is pulled tight to make it flat, but you don't want any gathering happening. And there you go, okay? And then I'm going to just, from this point, I'm going to just let that hang, and I'll cut that off later. But the reason why I do it this way is because we get a bigger cavity once this one is sewn here, and you get a nicer rectangle cavity. Now, you know yourself, when you make a beanie and you put one side inside of the other and you have a double layer that way, it's not uniformly rectangle like this. It changes the shape, and the inside is smaller than the outside. And doing it this way, you get a much wider cavity. not much wider, but you get a wider cavity and you get a nicer, and you get a nicer shape. I have seen people make my doll bags and they look very, very pretty, but I can tell just with a glance that they didn't do it this way, that they just took the idea, made a tube and did it that way, because it's much skinnier and I would dare say not as nice of a look. So that is why I do it this way, and I would encourage you to take your time and pay attention to that detail and do it that way too. You want it to look as nice as it can, and there's a method to my madness, okay? And that is the method, okay? Now you're gonna take this tail that was right at the bottom here. What we're gonna do is we're going to grab this very first stitch up at the very top on this side here, and grab the very first stitch up at the top there. And then go back into this first stitch. And you see how that makes it completely straight across? I'm gonna go back into that other side. I'm gonna knot off one and knot off two. Then I'm going to trail this under that top seam just like this. Pull, but not so much that you gather it. You got to be very careful. And then I'm going to go back. Just like that. And then I'm going to pop this into the two layers of my work in between. And pull it out and cut it off. Friends, now you're going to do that exact same thing to this side, okay? So starting down here, making sure that the wide part of your V is going to the left on both sides. And you're going to work your way up, and when you get to your drawstring, I'll meet you there and show you what I do, okay? Have fun. I'll see you at this point. All right, so when you get up to where the cinch strings are, you're gonna just pretend they're not there. It's a little, might throw you off track a little bit, but you go above them and you can see where the row is that you're gonna stay on. Then when you come into here, you're going to get these out of the way. You're gonna go into there, and here's what I would do. I'd go right above it. So there might be 3 bars in there, but that's okay. Then I'm gonna go into this side. 1, 2, yeah, it's about 3, but I'm gonna go, here's where my cinch yarn is. I'm gonna go above it, just like that. And I'm gonna make sure these are both outside, and then I'm gonna continue on my merry way up the end. So you just gotta go over them, okay? And we're gonna finish up to the top. And if this is your first time doing mattress stitch, congratulations, you got it. Don't give up. It's not hard, and once you get it, well, it's hard for all of us when we first start. But then once you get it, you say, I don't know why that was so hard. But friends, just keep going. And we're almost up at the top. I'm gonna just stop here and I'm gonna cinch. I'm gonna pinch where I left off and I'm gonna pull. Just like that. And you always wanna just pull it back just to make sure that that line isn't gathering at all. You want it to be nice and loose in there. Just to follow the edge up, but not to gather it at all. Okay, so I'm gonna just make sure that these 2 tails are outside so I can find them. And I'm gonna continue going up. On my doll pajama bag, so if you haven't seen them yet, I have doll pajama bags on my channel as well, so you can go to the playlist, the animal playlist. I think they're on the animal playlist, or just surf through my channel and you will find them. I closed up the top before I did this part, but you know what, you live and you learn, and I think doing it this way first is going to be easier. So I'm going to pull that, I'm going to let that fall. That's good enough there. Once we have that all nice and smooth, I'm going to take this end here. We're going to finish it off by picking that first stitch up along the side there, then going over to the first one on this side, back in, and back in, to tie off. That's one tie. Oops. And 2 ties. Pull down with your thumb, hide your end. Go through that way. Don't gather it though, just keep it nice and just flush with your edge there and back out. And then I'm gonna pop my needle in between the 2 layers. Then take this and thread it again. Pull it through, cut it off. We have a nice, beautiful square opening. Now, if you would have done it the other way that I explained in the beginning of the video, where you make one long tube and you fold it inside each other, you would not have a nice wide opening like this. The inside would be tighter than the outside, and it just doesn't look as nice. You got to trust me on that one, friends. Okay, so what we're going to do from there is we're going to just pull these a little bit. Okay, you can grab all 4 if you like, or just do 2 at a time. And you're just going to pull that. Then you're going to, just to give it a little detail there. Then I'm going to take the first 2 and I'm going to pull them again. I'm going to take the back 2 and I'm going to pull them. And I'm going to cut these off so they're a little bit shorter, which is why I did that, so I didn't have all these long tails hiding or in my way. Okay, and from there, we're going to start closing up the end. But we're going to take our top here. We're going to find our piece that is attached to the ridge, to the top here, just like this, and we're going to cinch it closed. So pulling on that, but straightening this out at the same time. Smoothing it out, I should say, and then pulling. And smoothing. See, I got a little ridge there, a little bump there because I didn't smooth it out good enough. And you're going to pull it. And there, when we normally cinch, we cinch that closed and then we tie that little, we go around that little edging there to make it nice and closed like at the top of the beanie. But we're going to leave it just like that. Look how long I got that. Cut that off a little bit. We're going to find the other one. We can't close this head completely because we have to put our eyes on before, but we're going to get the general idea of what it's going to look like, okay? Fold this one up. Smooth it out. Very, very important, friends, that you smooth that top edge out. And you pull, and you smooth, and you pull, and you smooth. Where is it here? This one. This one was the one that we did our mattress stitch, and so was this one. I am going to get rid of those in 1 second, but I have this one pulled tight now too. Where is it here? Right here. So this is my head. This is the one I just cinched closed on this side, okay? This is the one I cinched closed on that side. We're going to make it rounded at the top in a moment. But let's take any 2 ends here. It doesn't matter. And we're going to tie a knot. Except for, you don't want to, this one of these is the mattress stitch. If you tie too tight, you're going to pull and gather. You don't want to do that. You just want to tie a knot so that we can get some of these out of the way. So I tied that knot. I'm going to cut these off shorter. I'm going to pop these onto my needle. I'm going to get them out of the way right away. So we can just tuck them into the center there, or we can just put them between the 2 layers here. I just want to put them between the 2 layers because I want to get them out of my way, okay? I don't want to fight with them later. Now I've got this one and this one, okay? So this one, I hope I didn't cut off the cinched one. I actually did, but that's okay. This one is the mattress stitch one that goes from here. I'm going to take this. It's okay that I cut off that other one. I wanted to cinch it a little bit tighter, but I'm going to use this one to do that later. So take your other end here, and you're just going to pick up a stitch there and a stitch on this other side. And you're going to knot it just to be able to finish this off, to hide this, okay? Make another knot. All these yarn tails in your way will cause you frustration, so We're going to hide that. Cut it off. All I have is this one left, okay? And this one is what's gathering this side here, and I will use it to finish gathering this side and to close the top there. But we need to leave that opening just like that so we can grab our stuffing and our eyes. This is the time of the day where the lighting in my room downstairs gets a little bit bad, so I might have some shadows here for a bit, but I'm doing my best not to. Okay, so you got to look at your bag and decide what colorway you want to have as the front, okay? I really love that, but let's see. But I love that too. I don't think you can go wrong, because the purple down here kind of goes better with the purple there. This is more, yeah, I'm going to stick with this side. Okay, and so once you decide which side you want, then you grab your eyes. Now, I get these off of Amazon. These are 16mm eyes, and I got a package with all different all different sizes, and they come with these little inserts that you have this plastic eye, just like that, and you can use it without the insert. All the 16mm eyes come with silver. All the 14mm eyes come with pink. All the 12mm eyes came with blue, and so on and so forth. I wish that they would have had a mix of colors in all the different sizes, but that's okay. I'll take it as it is. Then you pop that little silver one in there. It gives it a little shimmer, okay? So I'm going to do that for both of them. We're going to take some, we're not gonna put them in fully yet. I just want to get a good idea. So I'm going to take some stuffing, because we still have to make the round face part with our 22 needle machine. We're going to do that before we close this top part. I'm going to stuff that into there. Just like that. I chose the right side because I love how this purple kind of draws your eye up, okay? And then I just want to see if those are the right size. Yeah, I think those are going to be absolutely great. But I don't want to put them in yet until I attach the round part for the nose. But I just wanted to get a general idea if they were right. So go ahead and stuff that base just a little bit like that. We'll stuff it more in a bit, but grab your 22 needle machine, and whatever color of yarn you want to use for the nose here, I'm going to use white. Taking our 22 needle machine, we're going to bring our last white and our first black needle in line with our yarn guide. And I do the same with this machine, as I take a black permanent marker and mark that divider between. We're going to cast on with our white, going in front and behind, in front and behind, all the way around, making sure we set our row counter to 0 before we get all the way around. Into the yarn feeder it goes. It should be behind that last white. Just like before, you're going to go slow on this first round, making sure those loops drop down over the red teeth. There we go. This is Bernat Premium Yarn in white, so my machine takes very nicely to it. It loves it, so I won't have a problem with it, I'm sure. And you keep going till you have 12 rows. They're really quick. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and one more, 12. Watching for that black divider to come around. There it is. You're going to now cut off a yarn tail that goes around your barrel 1.5 to 2 times. You're going to open your latch, pop this in between the last white and the first black, because we still have to knit these two. And we are going to do the drawstring cast off. I'm going to put this on my needle. We're going to hold this so there's some tension on it. There we go, till those two are knitted. Then I'm going to rotate my barrel till this black divider comes about in line with that screw. Okay, you don't want to go any farther because this needle's getting ready to pop up. And once this needle gets, which is okay, when this one pops up, this will be fine. It's the second time around where it will push this loop off. So now if I go past this black divider, I'll be on my second round. And so if I do that, this needle is next to pop up, and it will pop that loop off those red teeth, and I'll drop my row. So you have to grab it before it does. That's why you don't want to come with your black divider all the way to there, okay? Then you're going to turn your handle, take the next one. Come straight out like this. Don't pull it up like this, because if you pull up too hard, you're going to risk dropping the needle off the next one. Then you can take the next and the next and the next. Okay, I'm going to rotate my barrel. Come in there and I'm going to remove a few more. You can actually just take your hand and move your barrel like this with your fingers. It works no problem, and it doesn't hurt your handle at all. Okay, and I'm going to pick off a few more, except for this one split, so let me get in there. Gotcha. There we go. We're going to remove all 22 stitches. And one more. There we go. I have my piece off the machine. Just like that. Now let's put it together. All right, taking my smaller needle now, I'm going to thread the one end. Doesn't matter which end, you choose, whatever you grab first. We're going to go ahead and we're going to stretch this piece out, because we have to stretch all our work every time we take it off, okay? And we're going to then pull this one end tight, just like that. This is a small piece, so I'm not going to go around and reinforce it, but I'm going to just grab the next stitch and I'm going to tie a knot. Just like that. Pull it down with my thumb. Then I'm going to pop this needle in through the center, out the other end, give it a little tug so I get that knot on the inside. Then we're going to tighten this next side, other side. Make sure you smooth out that top so you have a nice finish. Just like that. Then you're going to take these two and you're going to tie them together, bringing both centers up close to each other. See that? Now it's like a flat pancake. And you're going to tie, that's the second one, and I'll do one more. Okay? You're going to cut off one of these. Keep the longer one. You're going to cut off one of these just like that. And you're going to take your needle and you're going to put the other end onto that needle. And then you're going to just work this so it's a nice even circle. You're going to pop that into your stitches and up to the very side like that. See? Don't pull on it or you'll gather in here, but you want to secure it by putting a knot right there. Then when you pull on it, it's not going to gather in here. Taking that piece, we're going to grab our body. Okay, this is what I wanted to be the front. I'm going to put a little bit more stuffing in there. It's a pretty big head, so it's going to take quite a bit. There we go. Once it starts to go like this, because you got too much in there, then you know there's too much in there, so you take some out. I'm going to take a little bit out. I have my neck about where I want it, okay? Not too cinched. We're going to put that right. Here's where my sides are. That's where my arms are going to go. So we're going to put that right. Here's where my cutoff tail is. That goes on the underside, okay? So I'm going to center that right about there, and I'm 1, 2, 3, starting at the 4th row up. And I'm going to just, when I have that centered, I'm going to just pick up part of the head, and then a stitch going across there, okay? I'm going to come right close, pick up a stitch, pick up this next stitch, just like that, see? I'm going right close to the head. If you can get under that stuffing and grab a little bit of stuffing, that's going to secure it even better. Did I knock my camera? No, I think I'm still good. Okay. Then I'm going to go again, pick up some stuffing. I've got stuffing under that needle. I'm going to make sure that it's centered still. I'm going to pick up that next stitch, just like that, see? And pull. And I'm going to continue around until I have my piece. I keep knocking that crazy. I have a cord here. Let me just get it out of the way. Put it on the other side, because I'm putting some lighting in here that's over top of my camera, so it's better for you because it's that time of the day at my house. early evening where the lighting down here is horrible and I should really stop working, but I don't wanna. Okay, so I'm gonna go until I get all the way around, making sure you're going right close to the piece. So see, you don't see any white stitches above the circle. You see how it's all flush? You don't see it at all. If you go up higher and you make little lines, that looks terrible. So you want it to look like it's part of the face without seeing the stitches. So keep going till you get all the way around. Once you've made it all the way around, you can then knot off once. Just not onto the white, not onto the purple. Okay, that's twice. Then I'm going to go inside, pulling that knot, then pulling that out so you never see where the knot is. Cut that off. I'm going to pull a little bit out of the head because I feel like I got a little bit too much. Now that I see it, I'm going to then take my eyes, place them where I want them. So if I put them there, and let's see. I think about there. Okay, so you have to line them up where you want them, but I'm like one row above the nose, and then I'm going to pop those in to where they go. Maybe a little bit higher, one stitch higher. Didn't like how it looked. Okay, so there and about there. Let's try again. Pop them in. This is going to be like that. Move this one over. For me, it takes me time. I don't just pop them in and say, oh, that's good. I pay attention to detail. I'm really finicky that way. There we go. I think that's about right, because when that's closed, that'll be perfect. So now I'm going to take some of the stuffing out because I've pushed those through so I see where they're going to be. I'm going to take this stuffing out, and I'm going to put the backs on the eyes. These are really tight. I'm really, really impressed with these backings. Some eyes you buy, they don't feel secure, and so you got to put hot glue. These ones, I don't think they'll ever come out. They feel very, very tight to me. Okay, so we're going to then, this guy looks like a duck, but he'll look like, like a bear when we're finished. Okay, then I'm going to stuff his head back in there. I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to leave that out. I'm going to take my small needle here, pop this onto my needle, and here's where we're going to take this half and this half and make them one. And we're going to do that by going on the top half only. Okay, so I'm going to pick up that top row of stitches on that top half, just like this. Don't worry about the side that's on the inside, the other half. You just want this top half like that. Then I'm going to come across, pick up the top half on this other side, and pull through. And see how that's working? And then I'm going to pull. I'm going to assess the situation, see if I like the size of the head, and I do. And then I'm going to just keep going until I have it tight. Pop that in there. Maybe I do want a little bit more in there. So I'm going to stuff that in there. I had it right the first time. There we go. And we're going to pull and go around until it's closed, which won't be much longer. I could close it probably now. No, a little bit more. There we go. So I'm going to just take it over to the side here. pull it through, tighten it, knot off. Pull that knot down with my thumb. Do it one more time. Pop it through there. Pull that knot down with my thumb. Go into the center, under the stuffing, out the back. Give it a tug to get that knot to go on the inside. Cut it off. Lift up on your area there. And there we go. Once we get the ears on, the arms on, and the face on, we're good. But before we do that, we're gonna take this, and I like the shape of it. I don't like it too tight. Maybe I'll go just a smidgen tighter, but not too much. Actually, I'm gonna leave it at that because I think it's perfect. I'm gonna tie off in a knot. I'm gonna then put this on my needle, and I'll take my big needle so that I can put them all on at once. Pop that into that space and under the stuffing, out the head. Cut it off. Pick up on that site there. And there you go. We are going to work on the arms next, and we'll finish the facial features later. All right, so for the arms, we're going to take our 22 needle machine. We're going to bring our last white and our first black needle in line with our yarn feeder. And we're going to cast on using our solid color. I'm going to go in front of that first black and behind and in front. We're doing a drawstring cast on. Before I get to the end of the row, I'm going to set my counter to 0. So it's all ready to go. We're going to pop that into our yarn guide. And we're going to do our first row slowly, like we always do, making sure those loops pop down. Oops, I'm stepping on my yarn. It's never a good thing. And there we go. I always help that little thing down too. It just helps that loop to form its better shape. And we're going to knit just at an even speed that our machine likes for 7 rows. This is 5 and 6 and 7. All right, once that's done, I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut off a tail. Open my latch, pop that between my last white and my first black. Then you're going to take your variegated yarn, pop that into your yarn feeder. We're going to pop that around to the other side of the white needle because we're going to do a jogless join. So normally this is how we put it in. We're going to take it to the other side. We're going to hold both of these tails. We're going to knit 4 needles. Then we're going to take both tails of our working yarn, help those little loops under the red dividers, and we're going to pull on both ends just to snug up our tension there. Get this one attached here. There we go. And for this color, we're going to knit 20 rows. So when my counter says 27, I know I'm there. And you know, if you have your 22 needle machine, how fun this is because it goes so fast. I'm already on row 15, 16. I'm going to row 27, so I'm doing 20 rows of this variegated color. Finishing up on row 27, I'm going to take my yarn tail, cut that, pop it in between the last white and the first black, remembering we still have to knit these 2 needles. You're going to take your waste yarn, okay? Pop that into there. We're going to hold both strands. We do not have to do tighten the tension here or do a jogless join because we are removing this waste yarn. This again is going to help us to be able to close this piece with a flat edge. So I'm going to do 7 rows. There we go. Once that's done, I'm going to cut my yarn, open my latch, pop it between the last white, the first black, rotate my barrel so that my barrel goes around twice and it lets go of my work. Sometimes on the 22 you have to help the last couple of needles off, but that's easy to do. And there you go. Set that aside and make 1 more. Okay, I have them both off. We're going to now work on closing this end, okay? So we're going to find our waste yarn, tail, and there it is. And the loop that it's coming out of is this one. So I'm going to pop a stitch marker in there. Make sure your tail is on the outside of your work so you don't have to dig for it later. Then where our main color of yarn is, if you pull up on this loop here, you know that that's the one that's attached. And that's the last loop. That's the one we're going to put our stitch marker in. And we know that we have 22 stitches on here. So to find the very side would be stitch 11 and 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. I'm going to go underneath 12. Then I'm going to count that as number 1. Okay, then I'm going to go up to 11. I'm going to take that one. That's 2. Down to this one. That's 3. Up to this one. 4, 5, and you're going to work across. This one will be 21, and this one will be 22. If it's not, when you get to the end, when you're counting, if it's not 21 and 22, then you've done something wrong along the way, and you want to make sure that you go back and you check, because if you've missed a loop, once you take that waste yarn off, that loop will drop its row, and you'll ruin your piece. So you want to make sure you get every little loop that is there, okay? And I'm almost done. This would be 21. I can pull up on it. Oops. Then take it out. That's the beauty of these bobby pins. And then go over to this other one, pull up on it so I can get under it, take it out, work it. I'm going to yarn over with my tail here. Pull it through that loop and tie off tight. It's not too long. It's not going to get tangled, so all I have to do is pull this off. Otherwise, you can do what I did with the body and hide it. Just like that. I'm going to go ahead and take my smaller little needle here. If this was longer, I would leave it on to sew it onto my piece, but it's too short, so I'm going to have to add a piece. If yours is long enough for the sewing process, then don't hide it. And here we go. And on the other side, we have to turn this. I almost forgot this. See, sometimes you have to really, pay attention. We have to fix this jogless join, okay? Otherwise you have loose ends here that could come apart. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these two and I'm going to gently pull them away from each other. So it snugs up those stitches and it lines up that row on the other side. When we do a jogless join, it takes those, when you're knitting in the round, every time you go around, it comes up. Your stitches don't match, like your row ends don't match like this. One comes up on the other one, and then it just keeps going as you go. And so we want to bring those two ends together, just the way I showed you, so that your seam goes straight across and you don't have a break in your row. And that is exactly how you do it. So I'm going to tie this off in a knot. You don't tie the first one in a really tight knot because then you'll pull on the work here again. So it's the second one that's really tight. Cut that off. Yay, didn't forget. I have forgotten in the past. Because when you're videotaping, you got so much on your mind. And sometimes you just make a mistake. I noticed I have another pajama bag buddy on my page, and it's a doll. And when I went back to look at it because I wanted to make these arms the same length, I realized I had forgot. I started after the white was on. So for those of you who have watched that video and are now watching this one, my apologies. I never noticed until now that I had the 7 rows of white on, but it was from that point that I started and told you that we did 7 and then started here. I didn't start from the very beginning on the video with you. So my apologies, I missed that. Okay, we're gonna stuff this and we're going to start to tighten it. I want it nice and soft. I don't want it too full, because I only have a single layer here and I don't want to have my stitches come apart where I can see it. Most of our dolls have, our stuffies have a double layer and then you don't see it. But for this one, I just did a single layer. And the reason being is because I want it very, very lightly stuffed. In most of our other projects, we stuff it so it's quite firm. This one, I want it to be really cushy and and cuddly and soft that way. So I have not overstuffed it at all. I've actually understuffed it. So there we go. And we're going to take this yarn tail and we're going to just pull on this to close. I'm going to go around that first layer. That first row of stitches to tighten. And pull. And I'll go just a little bit further here for you. And then I'm going to just pick up a strand, tie off in a knot, push that knot down with my thumb, go ahead and do it one more time. If this is long enough, we're going to pop it through that center and we're going to bring it out the side, right up where the very point of the last purple stitch is. Now you're going to be careful that you don't pull on it, because if you pull on it, you're going to change the look of the piece. So you just want it, once you get it up there, you're going to take those 2 stitches, that V, and you're going to tie a knot, just one. That's just to secure it. You notice I do that all the time when I trail up a piece of yarn, because now if I pull on this, I'm not going to gather in here. And what I'm going to do from here is I'm going to go underneath one bar of a stitch and over the other, under and over, under, over. On bigger pieces, we take the whole stitch and go over one whole stitch and under one whole stitch. For this piece, we're going to just go under half the stitch, over the other half, all the way around. This yarn color is so soft and beautiful. And if you choose these shades, it's good for a girl or a boy. So that is a nice option for you too. Okay, there we go. If you're making a shower gift or something for a newborn that's not born yet, and you're going to give an early gift, that's what you can do. See, there's not much stuffing in that hand, but it's nice and soft for little hands to play with, so I just love it. Okay. And you're going to just pull it just a little bit to give it a little definition, not too tight at all, friends. Just be very, very, very loosely tightening that. And then I'm going to tie off in a knot. Think pajamas and nighttime and soft and cuddly. That's what this is. Okay. And into my piece again. Now, give it a little tug to hide that knot. Cut it off. And there we have a beautiful soft arm. I'm going to have to tie a strand onto there, but we'll do that together. Okay, go ahead, do the same thing to your second arm. Taking a piece of yarn and tying it on. Just like that, leaving a long enough short tail so that you can hide it. For those of you who need to do the same thing and wonder how you attach it, that's how I do it. Cut it off. Now I've got my tail. I'm going to bring this over to the center. I could have attached it at the center, how silly. But I'm going to just slide it over to the center here, because I always attach my arms from the center point. And that way I know that they're absolutely centered, and I'll show you in a second. I'm going to tie a knot off. If you haven't done yours yet, attach it in the center there. Okay, we're going to take our piece. We're going to fold this out so we make sure that we have our side seams. Okay, so there it is. Here's my absolute side here. Because I have this in the center, all I have to do is pick up that seam right in the center there. Pull this through, and my arm is perfectly centered on the side. Okay, and then I'm going to just go underneath that. Pull up. Then what you're going to do is you're going to just go in right close to where you came out, right there, and just pick up a couple strands, then go back into your piece and pick up the edge, just like that. And pull, and go back in right close to where you just were, pick up some strands and come over a little bit on the arm and sew it on. Right up in the neck there. Now I have a unique way of doing the edge of the arm, and I'm going to show you that just in a second. I'm going to pick up some of the neck right in there. Instead of going just in the corner here, I'm going to go up 1 stitch just there. Okay, and when I do that, and then I go back into the center and pull up, what that does is it rounds off my shoulder. Okay, I'm going to loosen that again. Take a look at how that rounds it off and pulls it in, and it gives a nicer finish. You don't have a stark, straight, pointy edge. Okay, now that I'm in the center, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do it to this other side. Pulling, picking up a little bit here, grabbing the seam, pulling, going right close, and I'm spreading my stitches out a bit. I'm not getting them too like they're not far apart, but they're not, it's not every stitch. It's not really, really close, okay? And then back into the head. I'm going to go down and I'm going to pick up that first stitch, just like that. Come back in, and then up to the center. I'm going to give that one a pull, and you see how that's rounding it off? Just makes such a difference on how it looks. Then I'm going to go into the top here and out to the bottom underneath. Just like that. Give that a firm pull. I'm not going to knot that off yet because I want to get my other arm on first. Now, this is completely centered, so there's not going to be a problem, but I always put both on. You know what? I surprised myself, actually, when I did this pattern, and I'm, you know, always very honest with you. We only needed a single layer for these arms because we're stuffing them very lightly, but in all my projects, I do a double layer. So I shocked myself that I actually chose to do a single layer. These eyes don't look very straight. There we go. I shocked myself that I chose to do a single layer. I don't mind it on this piece, again, because it's very thinly stuffed. But if you want to go ahead and make it double, you can. You would do 20 rows of this solid color. Then you would do 14 rows of this color. Then you would do another 20 rows of this color. And then you would fold it inside of itself and complete it that way, making a straight edge on the top. And adding a guide yarn and cinching the end here. So that's how you can do that, and you can see that on some of my other tutorials if you like to do it. Again, I really am happy with this, or I would change it and do it differently for the video. But for this particular project, I'm okay with a very soft feel arm, and you can't see it through, so we're good. But I wanted to explain that because it is a different technique than what I normally use, okay? So what I'm going to go ahead now and do is attach this one the same way on that side. Once I have my arms both placed and I like how they look, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go underneath in the center there, and I'm going to knot off. Once and twice. Taking that yarn tail, hiding it up into the arm, underneath the stuffing, and out. Give it a little tug, cut it off, and go ahead and do that to the other side. Having finished that, we're going to grab our 22 needle machine and yarn of choice. I'm going to use the variegated yarn. We're going to work on the ears. For the ears, we have our 22 needle machine as well. We're going to take, I'm using the variegated yarn here. I'm not going to use that solid. I think it's going to look nice against the head. So we're going to cast on, as we have been doing. Setting my row counter to 0 before I get to the beginning. Into the yarn guide he goes. Slow on the first round. And there we go. Pop that down. We're going to knit 14 rows. Just Just finishing up row 14. There we go. I'm going to take a tail that's long enough to go around my barrel 1.5 to 2 times. And we are going to do the drawstring cast off. This goes between the last white. That's too long. I'm going to cut some of that off. This goes between the last white and the first black because we still have to finish knitting those last 2 white needles. Okay, make sure your latch is closed or you will break it, or break a needle, or both. Okay, now we're going to hold this little strand so that we can give it some tension to finish these 2 stitches. Then we're going to keep rotating till our black divider is almost all the way around. This one is starting to pop up, so I have to stop. Otherwise, this needle will pop up and push that loop off before I have a chance to get it. Okay, so we're going to remove our stitches. Just like so. All the way around our machine. And there we go. Once that is off the machine, we're going to go ahead and we're going to make our second ear, and then I'll see you back. Taking those 2 ears, we're going to give them a good stretch, and we're going to cinch closed both ends. We're going to do the same thing that we did for this white part of the nose here, and that's the beginning part of these ears. Okay, so we're going to pull this tight. I'm going to just go around a little bit here to get a better tightness. There we go. I think that's good. Give that one little knot. Pull that knot down with your thumb. Go into the center of that piece. Bring your yarn tail out and through. Give it a tug to hide that knot. Not that it matters. It's going to be hidden when we fold this. And then we're going to tighten the other side in like manner. Okay, this one I'm not going to reinforce. This can be the inside. Tighten that real tight. Then you're going to take these 2 and you're going to tie a real tight knot to bring the inside one up close to the outside one, or the 2 sides together. Tie a knot. And I do one more for good measure. Cut off one strand. Pop your needle on the other. Find this little hole. I squeezed it too tight and now I can't get it in there. There we go. We're going to trail this up to the side. And you know what we do from there? We don't pull it here together. We just tie a knot so that it secures it. Just like that. Then what we're going to do is you're going to have this on the side and you're going to fold this up. Okay, so your tail is out on the side here. We're going to seam up the side. Just go in between those stitches there, back and forth, and sew it together. Just picking up 1 strand or 2 on each side. And we're going to sew this little beauty together. Getting down on the end, we're going to tie a knot. And 1 more. And we're going to go ahead and do the second one the same way. Once we have both ears done, we're going to put the one end on our needle. And we're going to sew them on. Now, here's the thing. You do not want these to be too far back because it looks goofy. You want them to be like center on your arms to begin with, and then go up a little bit, and then come forward just a little bit, maybe a row and a half, okay? You want it closer to the front than to the back, but you not in the dead center, but a little bit closer to the front, okay? So if I take this side, for example, I'm going to follow that up. I'm going to go down about maybe 1 inch. And this would be the very center. I'm going to go over 1 row to the front. Trying to get under both pieces there. And you're going to put that on just like that. Okay? And from there, you're going to pick up a stitch at the base of the ear, and you're going to pull. Then you're going to go back into the head, and you're going to get under as many layers as you can, picking up stuffing if possible, because that helps. Then you're going to pick up another stitch on your ear, and you're going to tighten. Go back into the head, get under those layers, and we're going to work it like this all the way down the ear, trying to get it as straight down as we can, okay? If you curve your base of your ear in just a half a row, that's okay too. But don't go back and don't pull it down like this. Just try to keep a nice even, an even feel to it, okay? Don't stretch it, let it take its natural shape as you go down the head here. Do not tie it off, because you want to have both of your ears on before you tie in knots and hide your ends, because very often you have to remove one or both and redo them. And if you've done one and you've knotted it off, then realize later that, oh, that's not the right positioning. It's a real pain. So keep going till you get it all the way down. And when I get to that corner, I'll see you back. There we go. Now coming up, I'm going to take that very top stitch above the point, and we're going to pop it in there, come up to the middle, as is my practice, and give that a little pull, and that pulls that in, just like that. And you have a beautiful ear. I'm going to just take this to the back, like that. Drop it, attach the second one, just like that. Once that second one is on and you assess to see if they are in a good position, which I think they are. One eye looks a little higher than the other. That kind of bugs me because I'm pretty particular. But maybe it's not. Let's see. 1, 2, 1, 2. Now that I messed up that row, I'm going to have to go back and fix it. It's not actually. Just my little finicky ways. But once you know that they are where they need to be, you can go ahead and knot off. See, I have the same problems you have. We're all the same. And we hide our tails. Into our ear. Pull up, cut off, and I'll do it to the other side as well. All right, so taking our black yarn, let's finish his cute little face and make him look more like a bear. We're gonna go up the side here, under the stuffing, and we're gonna come up. Here's the point right here, the center. We're gonna go above it, but in the center. Okay, so there we go, right above it. Pull your yarn through, leaving a tail out here to tie off. And from there, I'm going to just go up to the corner here. Here's where my corner of my eye is. I'm gonna go in just a little bit from that and match it over on this side. Come out over here. Now we've done this many times on different videos, so you might know how to do it already. Back into the point, up right beside this one, right here. Coming out under that seam, you're gonna pull. And then you're gonna go back and forth, back into that point, up right beside this black strand there. Pull. You're going to use your finger to guide this one into place right beside this first one, just like that. You don't want these all messy looking. You want to keep them as neat as possible. Back in, and sometimes you have to move your point down. As you keep going, it gets square down here, and then you start moving your point down, and you'll probably end up in that little center space. Put your nail there to guide this. And we're going to just go back and forth, and then we're going to fill in all the places that need to be filled in afterwards, okay? I'm going to keep going till I can get my center, get to the center here and match them up, and then I will meet you back, friends. I've moved my point down just a little bit. Coming going up into that space there. I'm going to pull that nice. And I like how that's filled in. I don't like too many layers, but what I do at the end, you see how there's a little dip in there, and that's just from going back and forth and lowering my point. When I have the inside filled in how I want it, I always go back out. I'm going to take my point down to that little bit. I always go back and do the outline again. And that fine detailing just finishes it off more beautifully. See how that edging will be then? And I'm going to go into the point, over to this edge, this one's nice and straight, which is beautiful. Now we're going to finish this one off. But this time we're going to go in, and then we're going to come straight down and out about an inch down. And we're going to border that one beautifully. See how that just made an instant difference? Okay, now come back up to the point. I hope I don't run out. Just like that. I was going to put a little smile on him, but maybe I'm not going to. Let's see here if I have enough yarn. If not, I can add more and come back in, but let's just see if I can make this work. See how much more like a bear he looks now? All he needed was his nose. I like to do a double strand for the nose, or for this line here. Okay, so back up into the point and down. And I'm just going to come up a wee bit and straight over. And back down to that point. Let me turn this around, sorry. Back down to that point, up to the corner. I'm gonna make it, yay. Back into the point, up to this corner, because we want it to be double-stranded, up to that corner. Back into the point, so this side is double-stranded, under the yarn, or the fiber fill, out where we came in on the side there. Just managed that beautifully, yay. Gonna pull up on that. Take these two sides. We're gonna tie a knot. Make sure you don't tie this first one firm or you will compromise the look of that. Tie the second one firm. Put these back on your needle. Take my bigger needle this time. Into that same space. Under the stuffing, out the back of the head. Pull on it. Give it a snip. Take your needle, pull up on that to hide the yarn ends underneath the stud. There we go. You never even know you had an entry and an accent point. Isn't he sweet? I love him. He's adorable. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to grab our Addi Egg if you have one. If you don't have an Addi Egg, you can use your Clover. I just took a second to grab it. So this is the Clover. It has 6 prong. You've seen this on my channel already if you will follow. You're going to use the 3 prong one, okay? I love my Clover. I have a tutorial showing you how to use this. Go ahead and look that up if you decide to use this one. If you don't have the Addi Egg and you don't have the Clover and you don't want to invest in the Addi Egg, I will give you my honest review on this. This is my favorite. I love this too, but this is my favorite because there's no tuck stitches. It's very easy. It takes longer, but I love my Clover, but I got to get some use out of this Addi Egg. So I'm going to use my Addi Egg. We're going to take it and I'm going to grab my yarn color of choice. I think I'm going to use the solid purple. We're going to cast on, and yes, I actually even make a starting one here with black permanent marker, and that's kind of worn off. We are going to take our yarn and we're going to pop it through this center, and sometimes that's hard to do. Sometimes I have to wrap a piece of thread around it and then put the thread through and pull it, and that helps. But let me see if I can get this in here. I need to cut this little end. See if I can push that in there. This is, yeah, this is one of the most difficult parts. Pop that in there. There we go. But not difficult. Difficult, but not difficult. See, we've got it through. We're going to bring our our black one in line, which, you know what, again, I'm being too picky here because you don't need to finish a row exactly as the row. You don't need to finish all 6 needles evenly. Okay, I'm gonna put that down there, and I take the feet off of my thing. I think they make absolutely no sense. I'm going to go under that first one, then we're going to go over the second one to cast on. Under the next one, over the next one to cast on. Under the next one, and let this go over the last one. Just like that, okay? And then we're going to begin going, making sure those loops drop down over the red teeth. Oh, this yarn works like a dream in this egg. Look at how easily it's dropping down. And I'm gonna pull that through. Don't speak too soon. Grab your loom hook, because that will help you get those down over when they choose not to. And until you get some weight on there and some length where you can add your weight, you might have to help them down. And I am not counting rows. You are just gonna go until you have a long piece that measures around the base here. 1.5 times is enough. And if you make it a lot longer, that's fine too. Just keep going, because we can easily cut it and make it to the right size. And that's the beauty of using this Addi Egg is once you have a really long cord, you can cut it and just pull on the end, and it tightens itself at the length that you want. Okay, but these are having a, sometimes you can put your finger in there and push down too, and those loops will go down just so you can get going. That helps. And I'll add the other handle and the weight once I can get this through a little bit. There we go. So now I can tie a little knot on here. Add my little egg weight. Okay, and I'm going to put my handle on. I'm going to let that, I don't know if you can see this in the camera, so I'm going to just tell you what I'm going to do, because I have to let this fall down between my knees, and then it pulls down on the weight here, and then I can just turn my handle like this. And you got to go slow with the Addi Egg, making sure that those loops pop down, or you will have tucked stitches. We don't want tucked stitches even on an I-cord, okay? And so until you get some weight on there, you're going to fight a little bit with it, or you can just pull it down with your finger like this and not worry about the egg. Okay, so I'm going to keep going. This is just how you do it. So I'm just going to keep going until I get a cord, and then keep pulling it out the bottom there if you're not using your egg. But again, once I have this away from the table here and the egg hanging down, I know that I'll be more successful in doing this. So go ahead and make a cord long enough to go around the body 2 to 2.5 times. And once you have that done, I'll see you back. Okay, we are going to stop there. I got a wonky stitch there, but that's okay. We're going to cut off a little tail. We're going to take it out of our little yarn guide there. And it doesn't matter if you have that, if you've made a complete circle, you don't need to have that black thing in front. I have marked it and completed the circle, but it won't really affect it if you don't, okay? So then what we're going to do is we're going to do a full circle. And this is where that black divider helps, or you can just count 6 stitches from where you last knit. There we go, and one more. And now this stitch is ready to take off, and that needle just about popped it off, but I can catch it. I'm going to catch that one. And this one, don't pull up too hard because this one will come off. And then that's 3. Gonna lose this one, 4. 5. and one more is 6. I have a tutorial on this where I do it much slower and maybe do a better job, so you can look for that. Pull that out. And then when you pull that, you've got your piece closed. Now, if you made this really, 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 really long, something happened here, and so I'm hoping to be able to cut it off there. All you got to do is cut it off, and then you find the end and you pull it, and it'll tighten it like that. So it's very easy to do. I missed this, and I don't know, something happened here. I'm going to take a crochet hook and bring those loops in, and maybe that will make a bit of a difference. Yeah, that made a bit of a difference. I just have a longer one there. Not sure what happened, but that's okay. I have my piece ready. I've got it on my needle here. We're going to find the center front. And it would be about here. And I'm going to just go over one stitch. This one's wide, so I'm going to go into there. And we're going to go down, and we're going to pull this through. It's a little tricky once you start, but then it will be easy. Okay? Then from the underside, we're going to count 1, 2, well, we're going to count 3 rows. So here's the point of the V. 1, 2, 3. We're going to go into the center of that 3rd row, and we're going to come up right close to the seam there and pull through. Well, there's where my wonky stitches are. Yeah. I'm going to have to figure out how to fix that. Or if and when I give this away, I'll redo this cord. So for camera's sake, I'm going to just leave it. Okay, we're at the front, and we're going to go 1, 2, 3 into that 3rd row. You're going to go into the center of that stitch and pull it through. I might be able to take my needle in and sew it and not notice it, do a duplicate stitching over top of it, and it might be okay. Okay, and then on this side, 1, 2, 3, and pull up. And this wide cord is going to be so nice for little hands to work with, especially if they're learning to tie. Okay, and 1, 2, 3, right down close to that seam. I'm going to just do this all the way around, going from the front down and from the inside coming back up. 1, 2, 3. I don't want to split a stitch. There we go. And I'm going to continue that till I get all the way around. I ended up close, but I'm on the other side, so I'm going to come up right just 1 stitch separating so that I have both of my tails at the top here. There we go. Now when I pull, I'm going to see if I can, well, where is that end? Well, it's hiding in the work now, so I don't even have to worry about it. When they pull on this and they tie it, and they can tie it. Oh, there's that little discrepancy. Oh, that's okay. And I'm going to just tie a little knot. And yes, little children will need help tying their knot. Of course they will, but eventually they'll learn. And this big chunky yarn is going to be nice to learn on, and they'll be able to do it themselves. Then I've cut this off already. I'm going to just put this little tail onto my needle. Oops, and I'm going to hide it up into my work. I cut them off after I wound them through, and I shouldn't have cut it off quite so short at this point. In we go. Then I'll cut it off. I'm going to do it to the other one as well. So isn't he just the cutest thing? Oh, I just love him. Amber, thank you so much for your comment in my Facebook group and for inspiring a teddy bear pajama bag. I'm so happy to have been able to do that, and I hope you enjoy it. And the rest of you as well. You know, I think that this is going to be one of those things that kids will carry around until it's tattered, and it's going to become a keepsake for them that they look back on many years later. So I'm very excited to present this to you, and I hope that you've enjoyed this tutorial. Please don't forget to post in my Facebook group. I would love to see the ones that you make. All right, friends, it was a pleasure spending time with you. I hope you have a great day and be blessed.